Okay, so today we'll be looking at another piece of content that is still not available on the global version of Starseed Asnia Trigger, right? And that will be the world custom, no, not world actually, custom raid, right? It has been live in Korea for quite a while now, and it comes in these weird periods of every certain amount of time. It will open for 2 weeks, right? I have been playing this game for like over 2 months, and this is the second time I see it open, right? It has been opened once for me before, so I'm guessing it opens every something like a month or something like that, right? Like 2 weeks open and then maybe a month gap. But yeah, you can access it through the special operation menu right here, and once you go in it, it's sort of like a similar piece of content to guild raid and world raid, right? However, there's a lot more customization in here, since essentially you are able to build the battle based on how you want to fight it. So for example, first of all, the first thing you can modify is the level of your boss, right? So you can see that 140 is the minimum level. Last time I tried this, the minimum 140 no buffs boss was the highest I could beat. This time I'm hoping I will be able to go for a bigger one, right? And what happens is, if you look at the level, you can see that as you increase the level, you will also increase the score that you can get. And essentially, what happens is you are trying to get as high of a score as possible in your server, right? I'm not sure whether this is like server specific or the whole region specific, but yeah, I'm just here to showcase content, right? Not the leaderboards. I don't care much about the leaderboards. I'm here for the content. And yeah, as you can see, the difference between the levels and the score you get is quite high, right? 140 will give you close to 200,000, whereas 240 will already give you over 1 million. On top of the level modification, you can also add various buffs. So what happens is, essentially once you add these, you will either be buffing the boss himself, or you will be debuffing your own team. And as you add these buffs, as you can see in the background, currently the score will be 1.2 million, right? If we add this, as you can see, let it confirm for a bit, the score will be increased a bit. So it went from 1221 to 1244, so it added just over 20,000. You can add a total of 5 of these buffs. You can select the level of them. You can see the percentage amounts that the modification happens, right? And yeah, let's say we add a ridiculous amount of buffs. I don't even know which buffs I'm adding. Again, you have to sort of choose these buffs based on your team, right? For example, if you see that you are able to cleanse effects, maybe you want to add some sort of like debuffs to your team, right? And yeah, if I just fully max it out, you can see that it increased by a good 20%. So it went from 1.2 million to a bit over 1.5 million, right? And yeah, we're gonna test it out. I'm gonna test it out with maybe a single buff or two, right? I'm gonna choose what fits my team best, and we'll try it out. You know what? I actually decided to, first of all, try out, I'm gonna go for something like a level 200 boss, right? If we say that we are not able to beat it, I'll lower it a bit further. First, we're gonna try out the default boss without any like buffs, debuffs added. And then we'll add some buffs and debuffs to the condition, and we'll see how much more difficult it becomes, right? So let's try out 200. We'll see if I am able to beat it. Again, I'm not sure, because last time I was barely able to beat 140, but then again, I was also like around level 140 to 150. I'm gonna use my main team, right? The one that I use pretty much everywhere. Again, like, it's very difficult to tell based on power, right? Because my team in regular story mode and tower are able to beat enemy teams that are 1.2 to 1.5 million. So yeah, it's very hard to say whether... Actually, you know what? I didn't switch the correct skill on the thief, I can see. Because for bosses, you do want to use her awakening skill instead of... what's it called? Instead of the blossom skill. Now, I believe that the boss only has a single HP bar, if I remember correctly, so this should be pretty doable. I may need to up the difficulty to something like 220, maybe even 240. We'll see. I think the assassin, yeah, this should be doable. Okay, I'm gonna up the difficulty and we'll see if we are able to do something like a 240 maybe. Oh, for reference, as you can see, for each stage that you beat, right, you will be getting some rewards. So basically what happens is each level difficulty will have a separate reward for it. However, since I went straight to 200, that means I collected rewards for level 140, 160, 180, and 200. And you can see for those, I got what, 30 SR units, a little bit of these materials, right, and a couple pieces of gear, which unfortunately at this level is not exactly too useful for me, because the lowest level gear I use is, well, LR. And in some cases, something like MR1 if I haven't been able to deplace it yet. I believe this is where you check the rewards. No, this is where you check the rankings. This is where you check the rewards. So yeah, you can see I completed the first 4. After that, the rewards are pretty similar. You will be getting LR gear as well as some fodder units. And on top of that, you will be getting additional rank rewards based on ranking. These rewards are nothing to be looked upon, right? Like, look at that, 71,000 ascension materials, 50 proxy summons, 3,000 crystals. Especially these are super hard to get, so these will basically be an item that can reroll a substat, not a substat, but the effect on your gear. So yeah, that is quite a rare material. I'm gonna attempt 240. We'll see if we are able to defeat it without buffs, and if we are, we're gonna add some buffs on top of that. Okay, and this is the skills I'm using. I've switched my thief to awaken form, right, because that is the correct form when it comes to bosses. It will do way more damage. And let's try it out. I don't know. The cool thing about this is, first of all, single HP bar, so max HP, like, damage works pretty well against it, right? And also, it just makes it easier to keep progress of the fight. Oh, my thief is dying. But I'm also seeing a decent chunk of damage being dealt, to be honest. And if I looked correct, right, was my server's maximum damage 1.7 million, or was that 17 million? Because if it is 1.7 million, I think it might be maybe doable. Never mind, I spoke too soon, yeah, 240 seems to be a little bit out of my range, right? Yeah, let's try 220. Okay, 220, enemies 860k power. I mean, level 200 was a little bit on the easier side, right? Level 240, I did like, what, third of his HP? So I'm thinking this could very well could be possible, right? We'll see though. As long as he doesn't one-shot both my Rachel as well as my thief, then my damage should be pretty good. Okay, thief is not thief, the Rachel is getting a little low. Thief is getting a little low as well, but she does have some safety built in. I do want my Ileana to tank one more ult. There we go. Okay, thief is doing damage, full combo later. We are at half HP, however my only healer is dead. So yeah, this will be very, very close, I think. I have a prediction that Frederica might just solo this. Because Rachel and Thief are most likely gonna die. No, never mind. Oh, Rachel? And done. Okay, yeah, so we are able to beat 220. I wouldn't say it was too close. I think they could have lived for like another 10 to 15 seconds. So our score is 1.5 million. I'm not sure where 1.5 million came from because, yeah, Rachel's an MVP here. Because in the lobby it did say 860k, but now I'm gonna try to add some debuffs onto the level 220 boss, and we'll see whether it makes it that much more impossible. Okay, so I've added some weird buffs. So for the first two, these will not really impact me too much, but they do give some extra score, right? So first one, oh no, I removed it. Oops, I shouldn't be clicking that. Yeah, so wait, does it save it like that? Okay, so the first one essentially does not allow me to use any ranger units, which in my team I do not have, so that's just free score, right? Second one, it requires me to use at least one dark type unit, which I mean Frederica is, so again another just 3 points. And now for the third to fifth ones, these will be buffs to the boss, right? So the third one, this one will remove or rather reduce the recovery my team gets by 20%. So for each level it adds 4%, right? And I set it at level 5. And A1 and A2, I have set 2 extra levels to the boss's skill. So basically his active skill 1 as well as active skill 1 or skill 2 will be 2 levels higher. So yeah, the score projection jumped from 860k to 930k, which is 70k on paper, right? But then again, in the fight, it showed up as 1.5 million. So who really knows how it works there? I'm also gonna switch from recovery to EP regen because my recovery has been reduced, and overall I don't think I recovered enough to sustain the boss regardless in the previous fight, so I don't think it will make too much of a difference. So yeah, we're gonna try it out. We'll see if we are able to beat the boss just like we did before. I can see my Eurysia is getting targeted a bit, but then again the damage is still looking pretty decent. And then again, like Eurysia, right? I use her more. Oh my god, okay. Maybe upping those active skill levels was a bit of a mistake. You know what, let me choose a different kind of buff. Okay, so I have removed the active skill 1 and 2 buffs from the boss, right? But I've added a level 3 buff to the reduction of damage that is dealt from ranged units, right? So essentially what happens is it added a bit less score, right? But I also hope that it will be a bit more manageable. That buff at level 3 reduces ranged damage by 70%. Now, the weird thing is, I'm not sure whether ranged damage refers to just damage dealt from a distance, or they refer to actual like attacks that are considered range, right? Like, for example, not hitting them in melee range. For example, my thief, right? She will back off when she hits the boss. However, the damage itself should be considered melee, right? So yeah, it's a weird description. You have to play around with it in order to fully understand it, right? I mostly just messed around for it a little bit last time, so this time I'm pretty much experimenting like it is new content for me, right? Come on, Eurysia. But I mean, yeah, once you remove the active skill buffs, it definitely seems a bit more manageable, right? My Eurysia is dead, however, I should still be able to do this, I think. The ultimates are ready. Frederica ultimate is ready. I need one more Rachel ultimate and it should be decent enough damage, I think. Okay, we got this, and one more Rachel ult. Ah, she died. Uh-oh. I mean, the cool thing about Thief is you can see that little letter icon on the boss. That is continuous damage that goes throughout the whole fight. And yeah, we were able to beat it. So let me see the final score in this. And the final score is... Oh, it barely jumped. It barely jumped. So it went from 1.05 million to 1.058 million. So yeah. I guess to get a higher score, you really need to experiment a bit more with these more difficult buffs, right? But yeah, the main level will still come from increasing the boss's initial level, right? As you can see, the buffs help, but the difference is very, very minimal, right? Because if it goes from 850k to 1.2 million here, I'm predicting that the actual score itself will be like 1.5 million without any buffs on 240. And yeah, there's definitely room for improvement. You can see that the maximum is 320. But yeah, overall, really fun content. I can see that I currently have rank 10 on my server. Yeah, you can see the teams right here if you want to look into which teams potentially you will need to use in this content. Again, the same units pretty much: Frederica, Rachel, Thief, the absolute domination for those, right? A lot of people still use Ileana here as well as a tank, so not too many changes overall. But yeah, I would say this is, again, one of the more fun pieces of content when it comes to this game. As far as I know, it is not released in global yet, or at least they never had a rotation in global, so I hope they do release it quite soon. And yeah, that's about it. Hope you enjoyed, and peace.